Is this the third video I'm doing in a row with the same shirt? Yes. Why? Because I haven't gotten up. I'm just doing one video after another because they're going to be coming out boom, boom, boom. Because it's the beginning of the year and things need to be said, but I didn't want to do it all in one video because that would have been too much. So I'm doing it this way instead. And that's it. That's my intro. Month of December, excellent reading month for me. So happy. I read 10 books. Not only does it make me happy that I read 10 books, but it makes me happy because those 10 books got me to my goal of reading 50 books in the year 2022. On top of that, these were books I've been wanting to read, so now I can check them off my TBR. Some of them I'm going to want to reread, one of them I don't ever want to reread again. I might when I'm a very old lady, but not anytime soon. So let's get talking about the books I did read. The first set was Dash&Lily's Book of Dares, and then the second book in that series, which is The 12 Days of Dash&Lily, written by Rachel Cohen and David Levithan. And I did the first book as an audiobook, and I did not like the audiobook. Like, the narrators. The girl was good. The guy, he sounded too old to be like a teenager, and it threw me off. And I don't know if it was the writing or if it was the narration, but they just sounded older than their ages in in this particular book. And I also just wonder, like, are kids in New York or like big cities just like kind of left to do their own thing? Like, these kids are just going off everywhere and the families are just nowhere to be found. I understand like the parents were out of town or went out, but like, I just don't get it. Like, where are the families? Like, where are the adults in here? Except for when disaster happened. Anyway, beside the point. So the Netflix has done a movie of this book. There were a lot of similarities. There were also some differences. They're both good. They're not my favorite books and movie, but it was still good. And then there's the 12 Days of Dash&Lily. And that one I'm kind of mixed on as well because some stuff has happened in Lily's life that makes her basically a bah humbug. And so she's dealing with that, and everybody in her life is trying to get her back into the Christmas spirit. I understand. I can understand why she goes bah humbug and why she's struggling. But then on the flip side, for her to flip around, it kind of happens quickly in my opinion, but I kind of see where it comes from. I don't know. They're good, cute, like, young adult books. And I guess as an adult, I'm reading it and being like, this seems so unrealistic and just having a hard time relating. But they're cute books. There is one more book in this series, like Mind the Gap, Dash&Lily, which I'm interested in reading. My library does have that. Probably going to hold off till February to read that because January is insane. But still, they were good books. They were okay. The next set of books is The Man Who Invented Christmas by Les Staniford, and then A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. And The Man Who Invented Christmas is all about how A Christmas Carol came to be written by Charles Dickens and then kind of the fallout from that. It was an interesting book. I wasn't blown away by it, but it had some good information and things I had never heard and known before, and it was interesting. But I don't know what I was expecting, but I just wasn't expecting that. So it was kind of a disappointing read for me. But still, I'm glad I read it because I've learned that Charles Dickens, his publishers did not believe in A Christmas Carol, so he self-published this book, and it sold out like within the first day or two, and of course more copies were printed after that. And so this book, also A Christmas Carol, changed the way that people celebrated Christmas. And so it's interesting just to see how this one teeny tiny little book has such a huge impact on the world and people being charitable to each other and how they treat each other, but also how you celebrate a holiday that wasn't that big of a deal back then. So that it was an interesting read for that. And of course, A Christmas Carol. Tiny Tim and Scrooge and Bah Humbug and Bob Cratchit and the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future yet to come. That is always a delightful read. It's kind of funny, the humor and stuff. My husband and I did this as an audiobook, so it's always fun to see how narrators interpret how to read the book. And it's a good book, and it kind of reminds you, like, hey, don't be a jerk, because it's going to leave you a lonely person, and the consequences aren't the best. But being hospitable and charitable and kind, people will always have a good word to say about you. There's obviously so much more depth and things that you can pull out of this book, but, A Christmas Carol, it's always a good holiday read. I also got to read 2 middle grade books. The first is The Girl Who Sailed the Stars by Matilda Woods. This is a really cute story of a little girl named Una who lives in a city called the City of 1,000 Ships. And all the buildings are built out of ships that have wrecked and come ashore. And so the buildings will exhibit what they experienced in the ocean. Like one building where the schoolhouse is, it experienced a storm while it was out at sea. So at a certain time of day, there's a big gush of wind and stuff that goes through for like an hour. And some of the buildings just kind of, move, and you feel like you're still on the ocean. And even the cobblestones kind of have like a wavy motion to them. And there's just some funny things that, funny little sayings and things in the book that are really adorable. Una is a girl who just wants to be loved, basically, and have adventures. A fortune teller said that she was going to be a boy, and she wasn't. So her dad and mom and all but one sister dislike her, treat her poorly, and it's really heartbreaking for that. I'm not cool with that. Anyway, she sneaks onto her dad's ship as they sail off, based off another prediction by the fortune teller, and let's just say Dad was not happy that she was on the boat. But she stays, and adventure ensues, and there's a cute, adorable cat and a sweet old man on the boat, and there's a sea creature that comes after them, and then there's another magical creature that comes along and helps them. And I made a prediction of how I thought this book was going to end in my monthly update, and I'm just going to say it did not end the way that I was expecting. I was really shocked the turn that it took, and kind of okay with it too, in a way. I kind of wanted my version to happen, but here's the thing. I like books and even movies that don't go the way we plan, because I just like it when they don't go according to what we think they're going to be. So let me just say, The Girl Who Sailed the Stars, it's a cute little middle grade book. It does have wintry feels because the time here it's happening in the winter time and it gets very cold. But yeah, so good book. I enjoyed it. The next book is Snow and Rose by Emily, and I'm going to look it up. Emily Winfield Martin. Loved this book. Absolutely loved this book. This is a book that I want a physical copy of. I read it, borrowed the book from the library. The illustrations in it, look at these. They're absolutely gorgeous. I'm picky about artwork. I'm very picky. And these just are simple yet very beautiful. I loved the artwork in it. And the story is based off of the Grimm's fairy tale of Snow White and Red Rose. And I love the interpretation that Martin did of this, because it was still the same story, but she had definitely her own twist. I obviously was able to figure out, because I read the original story, kind of how it was going to end, but it didn't exactly end okay, it ended how I thought it would, but I was okay with it. But I'm also an adult reading a middle grade, so it kind of makes sense that I figured it out. But there's one question that I have, and I don't think it's going to be answered, and it's okay, but I want to know. And it's like a simple thing, and I don't think that most people are going to be concerned about it, but I am. So I think I might be doing a book review on this particular book with spoilers down the road because I loved it that much. But it was a good book. Like, out of the two books, you're going to ask me which one I enjoy the most, I'm definitely going to say Snow and Rose. And there's a possibility, like, the ending leaves the possibility of more books being written. And I really hope that she does, because at least with, like, the Snow White Red Rose thing, like, I would read more of these books in this series, because she could do a whole lot with this. So Snow and Rose, absolutely loved this book. Highly, highly recommend, especially if you have little girls. They would love this book, and I think even boys would enjoy it with some of the adventures that happen in it. So Snow and Rose, 100% think you should read. The next 4 books are short books, very short books. One's even like a 27-page novella. The reason I read these is, 1, 3 of them were already on my TBR, and 4, it helped me get to my 50 books in 2022. The first one is a very short novella written by, I'm going to look, Charlotte Perkins Gilman. She was born in like 1860, died I think in 1935, and this she wrote after she experienced some pretty severe postpartum, and so it's semi-autobiographical, is what it said. And this is a story about a woman who's basically experienced a nervous breakdown, and so her husband takes her to this house for 3 months to help her recoup, and the room that they've chosen has this hideous yellow wallpaper, and then she starts to see like a woman in the wallpaper and try to break her. It's a whole thing about this. She like becomes obsessed about this yellow wallpaper and helping this woman and these creatures that are in the wallpaper get out, and then it ends. It ended so abruptly for me. And this is part of the reason I don't read novellas, because usually there's like so many lingering questions that I have, or they just end when I'm expecting more story to like finish out the story. So I've heard about this numerous times, and it's something I was intrigued about, and so I read it. It was interesting, that's for sure. But I don't know. I don't know. I'm trying to get my phone open up again. I don't know that I'd read it again. It was okay. I'm glad I read it. Just nothing I would read again. Another book that I've been wanting to read for a while is The Gift of the Magi. And it's a sweet story about a married couple. They're young and in love, and they don't have a lot of money, and they want to give a gift for each other. And the wife does something crazy. The husband does something crazy. And it's just a cute little story of like sacrificing things that you love and want for somebody else, to be able to give a gift that another person would want. It was just a cute little story, this couple loving each other. And that was written by O. Henry. The other book I read was Christmas at Thompson Hall by Anthony Trollope. It was a cute book. It's about a woman who makes a mistake, and it kind of haunts her, and she can't get away from it. And there's very little that actually happens at Thompson Hall. It's about getting to Thompson Hall, and just this, she makes certain decisions that just get her into a big pile of a mess, and it just follows her. And so it was a cute little story. I enjoyed it. I laughed. Husband laughed at the audiobook when stuff happened. There was some phrases in there that just we're still having conversations about, so we enjoyed that. Here's the book that I did not like, don't think I will ever read again unless I'm a really old lady, and that was Star Over Bethlehem and Other Short Stories. And this is gonna kill me, but it's by Agatha Christie Mallowan. You know what a fan I am of Agatha Christie, and I was so looking forward to this book, and this was a complete miss for me. There was one story that was kind of cute, and I liked. The rest, like the poems, I didn't like, and I'm not a big poem person. And the stories, I didn't care for at all. So that was a big no for me. So that was basically my reading for the month of December. Super good reading. Loved every minute of it, except for the Agatha Christie Mallowan book. But I'm glad I read it because now I know what's in it, and I know not to read it again till I'm old and maybe have more life experience and I can appreciate it better. Because that's what I've done with classics. Didn't like them in high school, read them as adults. I appreciate it much more. So now, what about January? January, I'm a little insane. I have 8 books that I want to read. Oh, thank God I still have today. And so I'm filming this on Friday. So I have part of Friday and Saturday to kind of get a head start on my January reading. But holy cow. Okay, so I have not finished Green Glass House. I barely started that. That was a book I wanted to read in December, but didn't really get to it. So I'm going to finish out Green Glass House, and I'm going to hopefully get to, well, I plan on getting to The Bear and the Nightingale as well. As far as other books, I don't really have any other wintry books, but I am going to be starting 2 my read-along type thingies. The first is the Brandon Sanderson read-along thing that if you want to join, feel free to on my Discord or just discussions down below. But I'm going to be reading Elantris, my very first ever Brandon Sanderson book. I know that's crazy. Want to know more about that? Go check out this video. And then I also have Partners in Crime by Agatha Christie. I'm doing that as a read-along with Bookish Chas, but I also want to have discussions about that in my Discord. That link is down below. Both the Sanderson and Agatha Christie are going to have options to have discussions on my Discord, so please go join those if those books interest you. I'm also finally going to finish out Peace and Turmoil. That is my goal, like top priority. Finish Peace and Turmoil by Elliot Brooks, and I would also like to crack open Inheritance by Christopher Paolini at long last. I think it's coming due soon at my library, so I need to get cracking on that. Another book that I want to get to is Royal Assassin. I read Assassin's Apprentice, loved it, couldn't get my hands on this, but Cara, Danielle over at Cara sent it to me, so I'm super excited to finally get back into Fitz and his life and see what happens next. Let's see, what other books? Dun. And then my nonfiction book. I would like to read The Millionaire Next Door. I think I'm going to try to put this above a couple of other books just because I want to try to do at least 1 nonfiction book a month. We'll see if it happens or not, but it's really important to me to be getting the nonfiction stuff in. I also want to work on Mere Christianity, but that's going to be like a separate multi-month, probably several month deal as well. So that's kind of what I have planned for January. I'm looking at it and I'm just like, that's a lot of books. Fortunately, I'm halfway through Peace and Turmoil, and Partners in Crime isn't long, and neither is The Millionaire Next Door. So those are 3 fairly short books, but the rest of them are fairly long, big books. I mean, Royal Assassin is a shorter book. It's right there. It's, you know, one of the, but it's got quite a number of pages in it. So we'll see what happens. We'll really see. I'm glad I have today and tomorrow before the actual New Year starts to kind of, like I said, read some Green Glass House. Hopefully maybe halfway through. I don't know. Husband and I have plans. So we'll see in February how much I got done in January. But Happy New Year, people. I am excited to see what this next year brings. There could be some big changes in my life with my hubby and in our family. So, well, if nothing else, my parents are moving here. So that's a big change. I'm very excited about that. I'm actually really can't wait till it happens. I miss my mom and my dad. So it'll be nice to have them here. But there's also some other thing. There's another thing that could happen this year. And so it could be a lot of like personal changes in my life. So we'll see how this book thing happens. So, but 2023 reading wise, I think it's going to be really, really good. Even if I don't reach my goal of 60 books because life stuff happens, I'm going to be okay because I'll still be reading like I always do. So that's my monthly update for the month of December and my plans for the month of January. crazy ambitious, but I'm going to do my darndest to get it done. I'm so thankful that you came along. In the comments below, tell me, have you read any of the books that I read in the month of December? What did you think of them? Let's have a discussion. Did any of the books I mentioned pique your interest? Are you going to join me in a read-along of Elantris or Partners in Crime? Let me know. Come on, people. No one but Bookish Chas is on my Discord. I want to have discussions with you on my Discord or even in the comments below about books. That's the biggest reason why I joined this community, was to have discussions, and I'm not having discussions, so please have discussions with me. I'd be eternally grateful. I would also be grateful if you did the booktubey things of liking this video with a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Also subscribing if you haven't yet. We are almost to 100, only need 44 more. And hit the notification bell if you would like to be notified when I put out another video. As always, thank you for the time that you have spent with me today. I know you could be doing lots of other things, walking the dog. You could be doing lots of other things, but my mind is going blank. So in the meantime, whatever you're doing, have a wonderful day and go read a great book.